designer and inventor Wyatt White joins us again to show how to make fun and fashionable wire bangles on a special bracelet jig. Hi, Wyatt.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
I love these bracelets that you've made.
They're pretty fun.
They are. They're really pretty. And you have a special tool for how to create them.
Right. It's a three-dimensional bracelet jig.
All right.
Pretty fun.
Very fun. Let's take a look.
Okay, so you have to insert the pegs, as with most jigs, but with this one you have to insert from the outside to the inside and then hold it. The pattern that we're using here is sort of a over two and diagonally down two. So we'll put the last couple of pegs in.
So you can create any type of pattern on the surface because it has that curve to it.
Right.
And all the holes are evenly spaced apart too. That's really neat.
Yeah, and they sort of go in two different segments. So you've got angles this way, and up and down. So we just pop these in.
And the thing that you're putting on the back is holding it in place?
Right, that holds it in place because you've got to go around. And then this last one, it's very important. You don't have a peg right where that should go, so this one goes up just one. So it's up just a little bit. With the jig doing a diagonal like this, it makes it very, very easy for you to size it once you have it made. We went with the size is exactly sort of a medium bangle, but with a zigzag you can adjust that very easily. So it takes, this particular one takes about 22 inches of a different type of gauge of wire. So you can use, I like to use 18, 16, you can even use 14, but things thinner than 18 gauge tend to be a little bit, a little too flimsy. Okay. Now if you're going to add other wires to it, we have some examples over here where I did wire over wire to strengthen it.
All right, well, we'll take a look at those after we see how you are going to create this special design.
Okay, great. So I'm going to start on this little lonesome peg here, and I'm going to just hold the wire here, and we're going to wrap around this one, and we're going to be doing an underhand wrap. So we're going to just kind of do this, and I'm just going to pull the wire, and then here. So this is basically making our loops one down, one up. You can go the other direction as well, but for this particular design, I like to do this, and it goes fairly quickly.
I see that.
And if you notice, I'm only using the my thumb to kind of guide the wire right along here, and then when you come down here, you need to come back around just like that.
So you're matching your loops at the end there?
Right. So now we have our little connection that we're going to have to do. And I'm just going to, I got this a little bit long, so I just need to bend that so I can push it under and pull it through here. And I'm going to just kind of wrap that up and over right there.
Okay.
Now this one, I'll go under it, but I'll wait until we pull the pins. So to remove the pins, I want to just kind of push this down. If I made some of these loops a little bit at an angle, just push those down just a little bit.
So you're just massaging the wire a little bit before you take the pins out.
So then what I like to do is I set this on the surface, pull, and then just pop this inside because these little pins just roll everywhere when you pull them out. So it's a pretty quick removal. Now this is our last one. I'm going to remove that, but then I'm going to also put it right back up here so that I can flip this over, put that back on, and that'll keep those two loops together.
Okay.
And then I'm going to just pull this up and over here, and I'll pull this one so that it makes almost a complete wrap around.
Yeah, so you can really tie it down.
Right. And then that's pulled out just a little bit, but we can hold it now and then just wrap this around one full revolution. And finish the same over here with one full revolution. And now we're going to use our flush cutters with a flush cut staying on the piece. I'm going to cut it about probably 3 millimeters sticking up.
Okay.
And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Try to hold this here steady. Now we're going to use the cup burr to round that off so that there's not going to be a sharp edge anywhere on this. So you just place this here and depress. And that's going to ball that up really nicely. I find that I'm using the cup burr more and more stuck into this battery-operated reamer because it just gives you a nice end to the wire, really nice end to the wire.
Yeah, then you don't have to worry so much about snagging and getting it pressed completely flush.
And it gives you a really professional-looking finish on a piece like this, which, of course, you want it to look professional because it's a really nice piece. So once you get that to where you've got it where you really like it, then I'm just going to push this down just like that.
So you're just pressing the ends against the edge of the bracelet there?
Just take this and grab it and just kind of roll it over, and then you have no sharp edges anywhere. So that was the one that was a little bit less. It had less height than the others. So you can just kind of bend that back up and get it in shape. That's also the way that you size this. Now, you don't want to do this a lot. You want to just size it for your wrist so you can get your hand in there.
And then leave it the right size.
Leave it the right size.
Okay.
Okay, so now if you decide you'd like to add some beads, there you go, then if you have the round nose pliers. So I've taken a piece of, so again, this is 18 gauge wire. And now I'm going to use some Swarovski crystals. This is a 50-40 in an 8mm. I love the way that they look on the bracelet. The bracelet just looks great.
Right, with that rondelle shape, it really kind of settles down into inside the loops.
It's really fun. So I just place the wire on the round nose, flip this over, and then, I'm going to grab this, and I just squeeze right there.
So just at the base of your round noses?
Right, to make the little loop.
Okay.
That loop goes in the wire, in the bead.
And so you're kind of making your own eye pin there.
You are, but it's really important to have the two ends because we're going to wrap that around to secure it. So then just start wherever you'd like to start and put that in there. And on one side, bring this up and over once. And then here you can just decide however many. I like to do 3 just because it's an easy number to remember. And then you pull the other one and you do 3 wraps as well.
Okay.
And then you snip this off.
And you have your little setting, really.
Yeah, it really does look sort of like the bead is set on there. And then of course you can bend this. You could hang something off of that. There's a bunch of things you can do to take this to the next step. But what you really need to do is there are those 2 little sharp edges. So what I like to do is, because we're using a soft wire, you can just grab this with the curved chain nose pliers and just kind of twist this over and hold on to it and just kind of smooth it down.
So gently work it around.
Right, so this will just curve down and just mash that sharp edge down and over.
Okay.
So once you get that done, then you just complete all the rest of the pieces until you have it completed, and then you can adjust it. As we said, if you pull this out, it's going to make it larger, and if you just make that angle a little bit sharper, it's going to be smaller.
Okay.
So we have a bunch of different designs over here that I created so we could show everybody some of the differences on what we can do.
Let's take a look at these then.
Okay, so all of these have been adjusted. It's not, it wasn't the 14 zigzag, it was something different. So this one I like, this kind of looks like a waterfall. So it was just, you can sort of see where the pegs were on this. So you got 3 coming down here and then 1 coming up, and just repeated that pattern. This one's different in that it has 3 pegs at the top and 3 pegs at the bottom.
So you're creating more of a clustered effect.
Right, and you just have to kind of play with it and figure out where it is that you want it to be. This other one, the 2 in the front here, have just 1 peg all the way around.
Okay.
And so with one, I did over and under. And then with this one, I went all the same direction and bent them all up. With
this one with the silver and gold?
Right.
Nice. And so do you hammer those so that they stay the same shape?
I didn't hammer anything. I just wrapped them and pulled them off and tied it together.
Okay.
Another thing that you can do with this same zigzag pattern is there are a couple more. This one, I just twisted the rings. I can show you how that was done. Just took this and twisted it all the way like that. And that's what I did with this one.
All right.
And then this one was twisted similar, only instead of being straight out, they're angled.
Can angle it. That's a good idea.
Yeah, so it's really the tip of the iceberg with using this.
Yeah, it really is. And you can even use the curved surface of that to create some curved components if you
Right.
wanted to. If you didn't
Right.
want to make a bangle the whole way around, you could just make a portion of it.
Right. It's really, you can also make regular cuff bracelets on this as well. But this one especially, you could make curved pieces that would come out as earrings and
yeah.
be drops and things of that nature.
Yeah, I can
So
see that.
one of the other things you can make on this, which everybody seems to love, there's a wire bracelet out in the market that is craziness. So
Super trendy.
super trendy.
Okay.
So what we're going to do with that is I'm going to take a piece of 14 gauge wire, and it needs to be about 13 inches long to make a basic shape. And so let's see if my measuring in my mind is good.
Pretty close, I think.
So without any pegs at this point, you just wrap this all the way around so that they come bypass one another.
Okay.
Then you take one peg, pop it in here on one, excuse me, it's other side. So the short end needs to be, have the peg on the outside edge of it, and then the other side, it needs to be on this side. And I like to keep about 4 or 5 holes in the middle. Let's do 5.
Okay.
So there's 5 holes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the other peg, you need to put one of the little holders on the back. So now just get one of these attached. So just make a loop around just like that. And then pull nice and tight and make a loop around on this one.
Looks good.
So now you've got the basic form started. Now you just have to cut. And again, using the flush part on the part that's going to stay in the piece of jewelry. And then we're going to cut this one.
It's a very simple design, but you know what? You could make a ton of these
Right.
in a really quick amount of time.
And you could use a lighter gauge. I prefer brass wire or a half-hard type wire, which would be really, really good for these. Again, pull these out just like so. And that's going to pop out like that. And then now I'm going to trim this a little bit more. And you always want to make sure and have eye protection, either glasses or some kind of a safety goggle on, and make sure that you keep that little piece from flying. And once you've got that, then you're going to take your curved chain nose once again, and you're going to bend this just like this up.
Okay, so you bend it up at a 90-degree angle.
Correct. Then flip over and bend this one up. This is where the curved chain nose comes in really, really handy.
Okay.
You get both of those up, and then you need to flatten this sort of corkscrew down, just like so.
So you're using your pliers to do
Right.
that?
Just curve that down. Now you just have to flip this over and put this inside of that one and close down the ring, and then do the same on the other side.
So then you have a really pretty adjustable bracelet.
Right. This is angled incorrectly. So all you need to do is take this and then grab that little corner and twist it so that it comes out like so.
Oh, so it will always be that way when you take it off the jig. You need to bend it
Right.
out.
You need to bend this and get
Parallel.
that angle correctly. Now, because the wire is kind of pushing against itself, we've got to kind of make this come down here while keeping it round. Because again, this is copper wire, and of course brass wire would be better. And that keeps it sort of at a loop. Now, what you can do on this also is you can just slightly pull it out to create an oval.
Oh, yeah.
And then that way it will
Keep its shape
wear
a
a little
more.
bit better. And then of course you could add whatever you wanted to onto these. And
Right.
just, I guess people are wearing tons of these, which is
Sure,
great.
you can just stack them up.
Right.
Well, it looks like you made a whole bunch, and I like the way that it looks with the braid, too.
Yes, this wire's a whole lot of fun. If you want to put that one on, we can.
Sure.
It just is it's a great new wire that has such, it's just crazy good looking.
It has a lot of texture to it.
It
and you
does. And it's
really
a big
cinch it
wire,
down.
but yet you can bend it and move it.
Yeah, and it would look great, too, with some charms or different beaded dangles attached to it, too.
Yes, great new stuff.
Yeah, so do you have a few more tips for us for working with this type of tool?
Yes, I do. Most of the time when you're pulling wire off of small spools, it'll come off sort of looking like that. Using a wire straightener, just wrap this around the wire, gently squeeze, and pull the wire through. And you don't have to squeeze really hard, but go through 2 or 3 or 4 times, and then suddenly the wire is like perfectly straight again.
Yeah.
So that will help you to make bracelets like these that don't have any flims or flaws in it, because you straighten the wire first before you go around and start.
That makes a lot of sense. You're also work hardening it a little bit,
right,
so it's going to help it keep its shape.
Correct.
Okay. And then how about your curved chain nose pliers? I know those are your favorite.
Yeah, I've just many years ago, I thought that the curved chain nose was just a way to have people buy more pliers, until I really started using it and doing a lot of wire wrapping. And I really like the way that this curves out, because when you're working, doing any kind of wire wrapping, but mostly people are doing loops, you need to hold on to the loop.
Yeah, it gives you something to hold on to.
Right, to where when you have a straight plier and you're holding on to the loop, the nose is in the way. It's literally in the way. So if you hold on with this and you do this wrapping, you just have complete control. Now, another thing that's sort of physics about this is that when you're holding on here, if you look at how much of the surface area is actually being held on. So the more surface area you're putting the pressure on, the less amount of compression is going on, but it's still holding. If you're to hold with the very tip of the pliers,
you're more likely
to slip and put a gash in it or something like that. So grasp a hold of it, and I know there's so many people that do loops and wire wrapping in different ways. I just find that it's quicker and easier, and there's less slips if you're holding with a bigger portion of the pliers.
All right, well that makes a lot of sense. Thanks for going over those special tips for us.
My pleasure.
And do you have any last tips about using wire on the jig?
Using wire on the jig, right. There you can use, I've used up to 12 gauge. It's a little hard to bend around the pegs, so I would suggest 14 gauge, 16 gauge, and some 18 gauge if you've got some half-hard wire.
Okay.
And if you mix the wires, then you could start out with something a little thinner and be able to work that up. And I think square wire is going to be really interesting with the jig.
Definitely. Well, maybe next time you'll bring us some square wire to see on it.
I'd love to.
Sounds good. Well, thanks so much, Wyatt, for coming in.